Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo Podcast. This is your weekly dose of all things Nintendo. My name is Jemma, and joining me this week for I don't even know what week in a row it is, but I'm fortunate enough to have my two excellent friends again. I have the carefree Kirk. Welcome back, Kirk.
Hello, everyone.
I hope you're carefree.
It's on some things, most things, the things that matter.
Yes, nice, excellent. And we have the timeless Trev. Welcome back, Trev.
Thanks. Glad to be here. We got to give you a nickname, Jemma.
What would you say? J's are a bit harder. That's why I struggled with Justin.
Jocular.
Jocular. Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Or jingle Jemma, because you're going to come up with your Nintendo jingle.
The jingle, yes. Yes, I'll take that. Thank you. That's nice. Thank you for joining me again this week. Thank you, listeners. We have a very big show this week. Just lots of tidbits of information coming our way. But we're going to start off with our weekly countdown to the Switch 2 Direct, which is happening in April the 2nd to be precise. So it's now 9 weeks to go. It's going to go very fast. And last week we talked about, what did we talk about last week? The length of the Direct. This week we're going to talk about hosts, who we'd like to see on the Direct itself. We kind of touched on that last week with the whole CEO business. We don't want to see an EA representative saying how nice it is to work with Nintendo. But who do we want to see? I've got a bit of a list here, and I thought we could just run through how likely some of these Nintendo higher-uppers are likely to appear, such as, I guess, starting with Miyamoto, himself, who's kind of the father of Mario and Donkey Kong and Zelda. Do we think he will appear on the show? Do we want him to? I mean, I'd love him to, of course. He's awesome. But how likely do you think it would be to see Shigeru Miyamoto in the Switch 2 Direct, at least?
Well, I think it's very likely. I would hope so, anyway. We've come to associate his face with big announcements or fun announcements, right?
Mm-hmm, totally.
So, yeah, I hope he's there.
Yeah, I think there's a really good chance of that. What do you think, Trev?
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, can we think, and we know, some of the Nintendo executives through the year, can you think of a face that's more associated? A human face, I'm not talking like Mario or anything. But,
yeah.
Because Miyamoto, I knew about him as a kid, even before the Super Nintendo came out in the pages of Nintendo Power. So,
exactly.
And I feel like he's the last of kind of the iconic three. Like we used to have Iwata, and Reggie, and now it's Miyamoto. So, I'll take any captions or subtitles. I just want to see him kind of introducing the new hardware, and who knows what he's working on. I know he's less hands-on, but he's still steering a lot of the development teams. So I'm sure we're going to see his imprint on launch software.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he's a bit of a legend when it comes to Nintendo. He's been there since, what was it, the 70s, I think. He's been there a long time, since he was in his 20s, I think. It's been there a very long time. And he is, like you said, the face almost of Nintendo. That's why I think he was in the Nintendo Museum Direct last year. He's been in the Mario movie Directs, which, of course, as I said, he's the father of Mario, so that makes sense. And it's funny, speaking of Reggie, because, Reggie's replacement is Doug Bowser, who has the coolest name for a Nintendo executive. But he's not as big of a figurehead as Reggie was. Do you think he would make an appearance? He hasn't really been that sort of person, has he? Compared to Reggie.
No, not compared to Reggie. Well, Reggie, Reggie was a gamer too. Like he'd share off like his Animal Crossing villa and different things. I feel like Doug is more business oriented. Not that Reggie wasn't, but yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. I mean, different personalities too.
Yeah.
I mean,
and he's on Twitter. Like he does tweet kind of things, I guess, to make fun of his name, like with Bowser, the character, but not as active as Reggie for sure. So I think
maybe
it's a
he's
less
not as jocular as Reggie.
Yeah. Definitely not. So I don't think we'll see him, most likely.
Yeah,
but then,
I wouldn't be surprised with Bowser if or Doug, I guess I'll call him Doug. Show some respect here. If they have him in like some kind of sketch, there will be like a setup where he's got written lines that he needs to deliver, as opposed to like, here I am and I'm introducing you to this kind of thing. Because I think they would rely on Miyamoto for that, because he's got like, when he speaks about Nintendo and about the devices, you could just see the enthusiasm that he has for it. Like, he's so happy to finally be able to tell us about this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's got that kind of face where when he smiles, his whole face smiles.
Yes.
So when he's talking about it, you can't help but like, oh man, this guy's ready to go, and now I am too. And I'm not taking anything away from Doug Bowser, but I haven't seen that kind of enthusiasm from him yet when he's talking about stuff. So that's why I think they'll give him some lines to talk about, because he's got to make an appearance, I would hope, for something this big. But then they'll rely on Miyamoto for rallying the troops.
Yeah, yeah. Especially if there's something, if they go through games coming to Switch 2, which we assume they will, and if Mario makes an appearance, or Pikmin, maybe, because he's also the father of
nice to not have to wait that long again, wouldn't it?
It would be. Imagine.
It's funny you say that, Jemma, because you guys remember, and this is going back to like more like early Wii U, but when Pikmin 3 came out and Miyamoto walked on stage, the little Pikmin were like following him.
Oh yeah,
with some visual trickery. So honestly, I'd like to see some of that. I wouldn't even care if it was just Miyamoto and then the video game characters up there with him somehow. Because I feel like that playful tone would really set the new hardware off on a good foot.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. And it needs to keep that personality, that joyful personality that we know and love from Nintendo. Because a lot of people have been saying things like, yeah, the Switch 2 looks good. It looks powerful and bigger, which is what we all wanted. But where's that Nintendo kind of spirit, of, innovation and joyfulness, I suppose. So not that that's missing, because it was just a teaser that we've had so far. But hopefully that is captured, that the essence of that is captured in the actual direct for sure.
Hey, Jemma, do you remember on The Simpsons when Homer entered that build the nuclear plant model contest?
Yes.
And Martin Prince, the nerdy character, he builds an actual working thing that's generating, and Burns is like, but it's cold and sterile. Where's the love? That's what we want from Switch 2. We want the love.
Yeah. Yeah, what does Homer say? He's like, I added these racing stripes, which I think are pretty neat or something.
Oh, yeah. And then flaps for wind resistance.
Flaps for wind resistance, yeah. That's so good. So we want more flaps for wind resistance on the Switch 2, please. That's really good. I love that. And then, I was looking back through some, of the history of Nintendo, of the Switch in particular, I guess, and directs and things like that. And there's, the person who actually created the general producer of the Nintendo Switch itself was Yoshiaki Koizumi, if I'm saying that correctly. So I don't know if he's also producing the Switch 2, but for example, he was the one who at the time when the Switch came out said he had thought of magnetic Joy-Cons, but they didn't work at the time. They kind of fell off when you're playing type of thing. So that was his idea. Now they're maybe potentially doing that. We don't know 100% for sure, but in the trailer, the teaser trailer looks like that. Do you think he would be, is he big enough? Is this the kind of forum where he would make an appearance? Or do you think they'd leave it to the Miyamoto's kind of thing? Like, do you think you would get to that nitty gritty? Here's the guy who came up with this idea and what he thinks. Do you know what I mean?
That could be the case. I think that showing respect, if somebody was really spearheading something or important to the process, they would want to show that person the proper respect by letting him get some words in or talk about his involvement. So could be.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd have to look it up, but I feel like we saw him more like early in the Switch, and I don't know if he transitioned into some type of more advisory role, but I feel like we haven't. I don't remember seeing him as much in recent years, but don't quote me on that. I'm trying to picture the snap, in my head. In the early directs where it's like,
yeah, exactly. Yes. So I don't know what level of involvement he has in the Switch 2, but yes, definitely could be there if he still is involved. And then I guess there's the president of Nintendo Japan himself, Shuntara Furukawa. I'm so bad at these pronunciations.
You didn't practice beforehand?
I did.
Oh,
Didn't help. Do you think he's? I mean, he's no Iwata. Like he's the president, but he's had a more of a backseat than I suppose previous presidents have had. Do you think he would need to, or want to, or should be present? Like he's the.
I hate to say it, I can't even picture him. At least up till now, I could at least picture the people, but like I have to Google an image here.
Yeah. I think he's more of a quiet type. I don't think he's as like we said, Miyamoto has that personality and that sort of he seems happy to do these kinds of things. He wants to, and maybe that's why they get him to do them, because A, people know him, B, he's good at it, and he's into it. He likes it. He gets a kick out of it. Whereas people like Doug Bowser, I suppose, and maybe Furukawa are just more reserved, and they're more about the business, and they're happy to let someone like Miyamoto run the show from a kind of marketing perspective, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, honestly, the people are going to be so excited and curious about the games. I'm not sure, and I hate to say it that way, but I'm not sure it matters what person is on stage.
Probably not.
I think Miyamoto would be the exception because he's, we've been playing his games for decades. But a lot of these people, like, is the casual Nintendo fan going to know, who's the president, who's the CEO of Nintendo? Probably not.
No.
Yeah, and I also think they got to keep the number small
so
they can focus on, of course, more games and showing off the hardware a little bit. So, they'd have to pick and choose from the people we've talked about so far, and
totally agree.
Keep it limited.
Yes, I agree. I was thinking the exact same thing. This is like a list of possible people, but they won't use all of them. Absolutely not. I think we can say pretty certain, like with a high degree of certainty, Miyamoto will be there. Potentially, Koizumi as the Nintendo Switch producer if he is involved, and then maybe one of these next three who are the kind of directors of certain series. So we've got Kenta Motokura from Mario 3D director, Sakurai from Smash Brothers, of course, and Fuji Bayashi or AG. Oh God, I'm so bad at this. Help me out if you can, guys. But the Zelda team as well produces.
Hey, Aonuma, I know that.
Yeah. I don't think they necessarily would all be there because we don't know what games are coming, of course. But for example, we seem to think Mario 3D might be present, whether it's Odyssey 2 or something else. So maybe that director might be present. I'm not sure. We probably won't see anything Zelda related at this point, but maybe Smash Brothers. People are talking about Smash Brothers. Which do you think is most likely?
I think if there is going to be a new Smash Brothers announcement, then Sakurai would definitely be there because he's so central to the whole process, and people follow him, and he talks about it a lot on social media. So if there is Smash Brothers, he's a definite. If there is Mario 3D, it's possible Motokura could be there, but I don't know that people think of him as much as they think of like actual Mario, where there's like a guy, a game character that you immediately think of. So the face behind it, the human face, isn't as big as Sakurai is with Smash Brothers.
Yeah, and then I think that's a valid point. Definitely Smash Brothers. We all know. Yes, exactly. He's been so involved with it from the beginning and been there from the beginning. Like he oversaw every Smash Brothers game, right? So he's been there since the whole concept began. So it'd be interesting to see. And I think Mario less likely. Depends what it is, if he's still doing it, and like you said, maybe the fans don't know or necessarily care. Not trying to be mean, but they just want to see Mario. They want to see the action. They want to see what Mario's up to.
Unless they're redesigning Mario to look like him. Because you guys been hearing about Donkey Kong. Everyone's freaking out because Donkey Kong looks slightly happier than old Donkey Kong. So you never know with Nintendo. Or maybe they're bringing back Mii's, and we can access all these executive Mii's for another Mii venture. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. That's the name of the game, Executive Mii's. It's Nintendo. And they go on an RPG adventure together. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Anything else you guys want to see, or any other opinions to do when it comes to hosting of the
Is
direct?
it April yet?
No, not quite. We're in Feb now, though, so we're only 2 months out. In fact, today, for me at least, it's the 2nd of February, so 2 months to the day, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it'll go fast. It'll go very fast. Yeah, well, I think they'll probably have, they could go one of two ways. They could have a whole lot of these types of people talking. Probably Miyamoto is a one of the most likely, but then they could also just have a voiceover with some happy marketing type talking about, like they do in most directs. Most directs are just like, here's this game coming out this time or whatever. And it might even be two people. You know how they do the male and female voices sometimes going off each other kind of thing. But I think this is big
Can
enough.
I rant again for a minute?
Yes, please.
I hate that. I hate it when they have the two people talking about the game like we're a bunch of kindergartners, and they're either selling it to our parents or they want us to get excited about something that's not exciting. Most of these games are so great, we don't need this kind of marketing dialogue with the corny jokes and all that. But again, I'm old and cranky, so what bothers me, most people don't even care about. So who cares?
Yeah. No, I get that. I don't love that style. I mean, it's fine. I don't hate it either, I guess, but I would prefer Miyamoto was there to tell me about these awesome games and with his joyful expressions.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, and who's the translator, right? It's Bill. Help me out.
I don't know. Sorry, Google.
Bill Trinan. Bill Trinan, right?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, he's a. Is he still with them? I better check before I keep going. But like I remember when the Switch debuted and they were like on Jimmy Fallon and he's asking how'd you do and Miyamoto starts giving a thumbs down and then he changes it to a thumbs up and Bill's on the side and his tongue's out and he's having a blast. So I'm hoping that now I gotta check, make sure he's still with them.
Oh yeah, I remember the thumbs down up thing. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, no, that's a really good point, Kirk. I don't think the Switch 2 Direct would be that style. Yeah, I hope not. I think.
And to be fair, they only do it on. I mean, like if we're talking about a Xenoblade Chronicles game, they don't do that because it's got like this sort of weight and gravity and importance to it, from the storytelling standpoint. So they only use it on the more lighthearted games. I'm being overly critical for no reason.
Yes.
Bill is the vice president, player and product experience of Nintendo. That's a long name.
What?
And and a professional Japanese to English translator and interpreter, most notably for Shigeru Miyamoto.
Cool. What a cool job. That's awesome.
If only I knew Japanese.
Yeah. It
makes you wish you'd like majored in it in college, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why'd I waste my time learning Latin? Who speaks that?
Maybe Kirk. I don't know. Do you know Latin?
No. I took French. French was my thing.
Oh, me too. Yes, I did French.
I don't remember much at all.
Yeah. There's not too late, Trev. You can get onto Duolingo and start learning Japanese. Cool. Well, thank you. That wraps up our Switch 2 countdown for this week, week 9 or 9 weeks ago. The host will revisit the Switch 2 Direct next week with, I can't remember what the topic is next week, but we'll have a fun topic to discuss. Let's move on to the news of the week. Speaking of Switch 2, did we get tickets to the hands-on experience? I did not. Did you guys? Did you apply? Did you?
I didn't even try myself.
No, I didn't either. Maybe I should have, just to see if I wasn't going to go, but then if it got approved, I'd be like, well, wait a minute, now I kind of have to, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Hop onto the pure Nintendo helicopter and fly out to New York.
Yeah. Yeah. So I applied for Melbourne. That's the only Australian one. Didn't get it. I didn't see anyone online who got it though. I kept seeing people's, I sent mine on Blue Sky to say my sort of screenshot of my email that says you're not successful. I saw a bunch of others like that. Even Kit and Krista. I think they applied for like 9 around the world. Didn't get any.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. I haven't seen anyone get one, but I'm sure people
I saw
did.
one. There
Did
was
you?
one on
Yeah.
Blue Sky, not who I'm following. It was in the Discover section, but I did
Okay.
see one because,
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to see what it even looked like. It was a lot shorter,
Right. Okay.
like less of an apology and more of like, what? Yeah, just
Yeah.
focus on this for a while. We'll get in touch with you later with the details.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So I did join the wait list. So we'll see if that pans out. Um, we'll see, because with the waitlist you could choose every event, or sorry, in Melbourne there were like a bunch of times, and so I chose every time for the waitlist. But when you had to choose just one time for the actual registration, like the original one. So I chose one random time, which I was sitting there thinking about, like, which time's the best? I don't even know. But for the waitlist I've just chosen all available times. So we'll see. There's a chance. There's a very slim chance. So yeah, I'll keep you up to date on that one.
You need to do like they do for like college wait lists. You got to get a letter of recommendation from like some higher up, like the dean of
Yeah.
Nintendo or whatever. Be like, yeah, you want Gemma on there?
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's move on to some more news. There is a supercharge sale happening this week and next week until the 9th of February. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at this, but I thought it might be fun to talk about any deals that we thought were worth calling out. Looks like there's a fair few kind of first-party games on sale, like Mario Brothers U Deluxe, another Code Recollection. Yeah, a lot of big ones like that are all kind of, they only ever go sort of 33% off, but they're 33% off. I'm very tempted to get another Code Recollection, because that was one of Justin's games of the year last year, wasn't it? I believe.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And I
Like
played the
10
demo.
years.
Yeah. So that's one I'm interested in. Ace Attorney Investigations Collection is 25% off. Red Dead Redemption is always there. Cult of the Lamb, again, that's 50% off. Definitely recommend that one. Anything caught your eyes, guys?
Yeah, I
would
can
say
recommend a couple. Oh, go ahead,
Yeah.
Kirk.
I was just going to say Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope
Mm.
is quite a bit off. It's 65% off. And that's the one where I went to San Francisco for a demo of that before the game came out. And it's a great game, a lot of fun. So I would certainly hop on that if you haven't yet.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Sea of Stars is also there, 30% off. That's a great one too. Trev, you had something?
Yeah, there's quite a few good ones on. I'll always shout out Go Vacation. I feel like that's one of the most
Yeah, I saw that
overlooked
too.
and misunderstood
Mm-hmm.
Switch games because people look at it and they're like, "Oh, it's just mini games," but it's really not. It's like they get these really big, like kind of open world areas where you can
Mm.
explore and find all sorts of goodies and yeah. So I'll always encourage people to look at that.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is Leighton's Mystery Journey. Ketria. Well, we nickname it Lady Leighton, right? Because it's easier. It's less wordy.
Yeah.
But that's 40% off, $23.99. I was a big fan of that game, and you know, Professor Layton and the New World of Steam is supposed to come out later this year. So if you want
Mm.
to play or replay some of these to kind of get in the mood, I would definitely take a look at that if you haven't.
Yes, definitely. I saw a few others. The Plucky Squire, which didn't quite make my top 10, but was in my kind of runners up. That's 25% off. That's a really, really good game. Tunic, which was one from, I think, 2022. I didn't get to play that one, but I heard a lot of chatter about it. I think Justin might have even been into this one. Looks really cute, but also it's a tough kind of RPG, like a top-down Zelda style RPG with a fox who can't. I think you can't understand what he's saying, so it's really interesting how you have to decipher where to go, and the map unfolds as you progress, that kind of thing. And that's 30% off. Crow Country, which is one you reviewed, Trev. That's in
Oh
there.
yeah, I did see that. That's
Hmm.
definitely a game that you should take a look at if you're interested in it because I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, that was one of your games of the year, wasn't it?
It
Crow
was.
Country.
It just
Yeah.
creeped into the 10th spot, and yeah, any time of year, I think it'd be a fun play and replay too. It actually has some replay incentives, so
Yeah. And Tetris Forever, another one of yours, is there? 20% off.
yeah.
Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which was one of my games of the year. That's 50% off. Definitely recommend that one. There's a huge list of deals there, so definitely check out this sale. Do you think we're going to see a lot of sales in the lead up to Switch 2? You know, you're trying to push Switch sales, I suppose, or Switch game sales while we're waiting, tide us over, get people into the games that they've missed out. You know, we talked about the twilight of the Switch. Is that now, right? Or is that after the direct? When is the twilight exactly?
Yeah, I think it starts. Well, in my mind, it's been happening since the rumors really started
Yeah.
escalating. But yeah, that's been incorrect. I would say once they announce the date and we know exactly how long we have, that's when we're just trying to fill time,
Yeah.
waiting for the next big thing to land in our living rooms.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, some people might say this past holiday season was kind of the end of Switch, but there's still games coming out this year. And I think until we have the new hardware accessible, like in our hands or on the shelves, we're still going with Switch. But I'd be more curious about discounts on like the hardware itself. Like,
Yeah.
Because Switch Lite could be like the 2DS of this generation, a budget kind of handheld system that could find, an audience. Because, I mean, the Switch has been out since 2017. So there might be kids who were born when the Switch was out, or maybe not even alive. And now they're old enough, they're looking for a handheld. The Switch Lite would be an amazing choice.
That's such a good point. Yeah. It'll be 8 years this March, right? Like next month. It'll be 8 years since the Switch release. I know. It is crazy. It's very crazy. But yeah, you're right. That means kids who are like 6, 7, 8 right now weren't alive when the Switch came out. And
I mean, even if you were like, say, 3 when the Switch came out, are you playing video games as a toddler? Especially not, expensive, probably, hardware. But now you might be a 10-year-old. Maybe you can be responsible enough to handle a light because it's a little more durable, and you can't detach the Joy-Cons or whatever. So
yeah,
I mean, the 2DS was a beast. Like, you could drop that and nothing happened. So
it was pretty sturdy. That's true.
I also think a bunch of kids are going to be asking for the Switch 2, and parents are going to go to the stores and see the price, and they're going to see the Switch Lite there. And it'll be the old grandma move. This is good enough. And they'll come home.
oh yeah,
yeah, exactly.
we have Switch 2 at home, and it's just the original.
That's funny. That's good.
Well,
Yeah,
they packed the right game in with them. I mean, the 2DS had so many bundles with Mario Kart and Link Between Worlds and Mario Maker and countless others. So you pack a popular game in there with it. And, I think the little kids, they'll be happy. I mean, it's not until you get into your teens or older where you start getting jaded and feel like you're entitled. So I think the little kids will like it.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely. Very interesting comments. Thank you. I agree with all of that. Any other sale items before we move on to our next topic of news? No more highlights? Okay.
Nah, I think we covered plenty.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
So check
We
it out.
got to start saving money for the new Switch too. So you can only buy so many.
Yeah, that's it. I know it's so tempting, but it's also like there is a budget issue. So yeah. Well, Nintendo Music, as we know, every week it releases new soundtracks. Last week's was really good, I thought. Pokemon Legends Arceus, which is a really long soundtrack. It's just over 4 hours long.
Wow.
Bit of a side note. I looked up how to pronounce Arceus, Trev, because we talked about this a while ago, didn't we? We weren't sure if it was Arceus or Arceus. It's Arceus.
Well, I tend to agree with you, but watch Detective Pikachu and listen how Ryan Reynolds says it.
You can't trust him. Well, the voice of Ash has a YouTube video where she pronounces it. So I'm going with her. I'm going with her, Sarah's pronunciation. I'm going to take her side, I think. But anyway, I'm going to go with that. Anyway, the point is the soundtrack is now available. I haven't played Arceus. I missed that one, sadly.
Oh.
I know you did, Trev, because it was your first big Pokemon game, right?
It was, in fact, it was my runner-up for Game of the Year it came out. I think I picked Kirby, and the Forgotten Land was my top choice, which is another one I think you haven't played, Jemma. You're going to start playing these games I love.
I know. Yeah, I know.
But Arceus was really it cut out a lot of the stuff that I'm not as enamored with in Pokemon, and just yeah, I had a blast with it, and my wife even more. I think my wife came really close to 100%ing it. Like
Wow.
I wasn't disciplined enough to do that, but yeah, it's great. And what's the one supposedly coming out this year? ZA.
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
I'll be excited for that too.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I will definitely get that. I think I'm gonna give that one a go. Arceus, I would love to play because I played Pokemon, what was it? Oh my gosh, mental blank. The most recent one, Violet.
Scarlet.
Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah, Violet. But I know it's slightly different because this is a Legends game, but I just know you talked about it a lot at the time and really enjoyed it. I did give the soundtrack a listen though. Just why not, right? It's really
Yeah,
good. It's great. I loved
absolutely.
it. Yeah. It's really I didn't listen to all 4 hours. But
No, I don't blame you. It's a long, yeah,
it's a
that's
lot.
a lot.
Yeah. But what a cool thing to have, like 4 hours of a great game worth of music. That's that's really cool. I love it. It's very neat. Did you give it a listen yourself, the soundtrack?
I did, not like you, not for 4 hours, but
Yeah, yeah.
because I hadn't played it. When did that come out? That was
Was it 22?
2022. So yeah, I played it a lot in 2022, and then
Mhm.
like kind of early, like the first month or so, 2023, as I was trying to, get a higher percentage. But
Mm.
I haven't
Mhm.
really played it since then. So it's been about 2 years. So I was trying to,
Yeah.
as I listened to tunes, visualize different parts of the game, and it kind of made me in the mood to replay it. Maybe I'll load it back up or play it under a different profile now that I know more and see how I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let us know if you do. It's still on my kind of wish list, I guess. We'll see. I might not ever get around to playing it. But maybe I should buy it while the Switch is still a thing.
It
Because
is fun. It really it plays differently, but it's familiar enough based on, not that I played a lot of Pokemon, but I
mm,
played enough of them to know that it's speedier because you don't have
mhm.
to constantly be in turn based battles and waiting for animation. You can kind of, it's not open world as impressive as like Breath of the Wild or anything, but it definitely has that flavor, which I enjoyed.
Yeah. Very cool. Excellent. Love that. Speaking of Pokemon, I did notice a little stat during the week, which is the Pokemon TCG Pocket, the mobile app that's out, was the most downloaded mobile game in Japan for the second half of 2024. Not a super surprise, but the cool thing was it only launched in October. And it, so even though it was only out for like, I think it was the end of October potentially. So it was out for like 2.5 months, right? But it managed to be the kind of most downloaded mobile app for the whole of the 6 months of the second half of 2024. So no mean feat, but we know how popular Pokemon is, particularly in Japan. So potentially not a surprise, but still very amazing. And it's generated $120 million in revenue, which is ridiculous, phenomenal. So I went ahead and downloaded the game, or the app, I should say. It's not really a game. It's a card. It's the card game. TCG stands for the card game, and you open up a pack every day, and it's like a virtual pack. So you kind of use your finger to kind of rip the top of the pack off, and then some cards come out. You get special versions and editions, and you can obviously purchase things to help you get better cards or open more packs more frequently, that type of thing. So I thought I'll just download it because it's free to download and you can get a pack. I can't remember what the cooldown is, but you open a pack and you have to wait several hours before you can open another pack. So yeah, I've just been tinkering with it for the last few days, and it looks lovely. It works really well. It's very quick to load. The cards look fantastic. I'm a bit of a physical, like I like, books. I like actual books. I
Mhm.
still, yeah, I have all my CDs, which I don't use, but I still have my CDs. um, so I'm a bit like, I don't necessarily love it. It looks awesome, of course, and I like the idea of it, the concept of it. But I love, like, I love to hold these things. So it's interesting. Is this the way of the future where everything will just be virtual and we won't have
Oh,
any?
I hope not.
Yeah, that's why we do our printed magazine, don't we? Because we love the actual printed magazine. That's
Yeah.
something that we're missing in our lives. So, and same with games. We all have a collection of physical games. And I felt bad about Tears of the Kingdom being a digital download that I got. So like the only Zelda game I don't have physically. So yeah.
Well, you had the voucher though, right? So you save money.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It does tempt you because it's it's cheaper, right? And if you're getting two games, when you know you're going to get two games, like I think Mario Wonder and maybe Mario Party were two that I got, another two that I got using the voucher system. You're just like, oh, it is cheaper. And if it's a game you're going to play a lot of, it is easier to have it just digitally there. Of course, it does take up a lot of room as well. Like Tears of the Kingdom was massive.
Yeah.
But I just feel kind of sad about not having a physical copy. But anyway.
I got to hop in here too because the game I was talking about last week, Van Brace Cold Soul, I got that digitally for review. They released a physical version through Game Fairy. It was limited to 3,000 back in 2019, but it's still available with a lot of bonuses. So I've ordered that.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like I was thinking like RPGs, like, we have Xenoblade X coming out. Like a lot of times they can really warrant like a collector's edition, right? Because there's so many hundreds of hours of content. So, and a lot of times there's cool little bonuses. Like I think around here, Best Buy has like a metal plate you can get, and who knows what else. But yeah, certain games especially, I think, kind of demand physical.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and RPGs, like you said, are particularly worthy. They usually have something bundled with them. What do you get with your with the one you're talking about, Kirk? What sort of extras do you get?
Actually, it's kind of funny you mentioned that because when I pre-ordered it from Best Buy, there was no special pack-in or anything. But then they announced it, and I thought, wait, am I going to get this? Best Buy sent me an email and said, we noticed that when you placed your order, this wasn't included. We've added it free of charge.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thank you, Best Buy. That's why I always use them.
Well, that is great.
Yeah. It's a bit disappointing because the other Xenoblade Chronicle games have had better versions. They've come with like art books and stuff like that. But I'll take it. It's I know exactly where it's going to sit.
Wow,
nice.
my really metal plate with a nice stand.
Yeah, I can't believe they did that. That's actually nice. Yeah. Good on you, Best Buy.
I thought I'd have to cancel the order and reorder it in order to get it, but nope. They reached out, took care of it.
That's brilliant. Very cool. Looking forward to hearing about that one when you get it. When's that one out? March, right?
Yeah, March 21st, I think. Is it March 21st?
Something like that.
Thursday.
Yeah, okay. Thursday as usual. Yes. Other little news tidbits. This was an interesting story. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there's a Super Mario grocery store in, where is it? Costa Rica? And I think what happened was, did you see this story at all before I put it in the notes or not?
No.
Briefly.
Briefly, yeah. I saw it during the week and then it kind of gained traction. I saw a few other outlets picking it up and it sort of did the rounds a little bit. But basically what happened was there's a grocery store, like a little supermarket in Costa Rica. It's called Super Mario. It's been around since, I think, was it 2013 or 14, something like that. And their license had expired or whatever, so they had to renew their license. And then it became a copyright patent, whatever, breach or something, when Nintendo got involved saying, no, you can't have this name. They won because, so they got to keep the name Super Mario because Nintendo owns the rights to Super Mario, across all of these, I want to say genres, but it's not genres in the real world. What do you call it? All these different aspects, like, games and, I don't know, T-shirts or something, right? But not grocery stores. It's not, they don't own the patent for that one. So they were able to keep it. So yeah, they were really happy about it. So
are they actually using the Mario character too?
I don't think
promote
so.
it, or is it just the name?
No,
just the name. Yeah, just the name.
Yeah, not even the color scheme is different.
No.
I have to imagine Nintendo kind of like maybe did an automatic thing by default just to as IP protection, but I can't imagine it was any type of serious attempt.
Surely not, right? Yeah.
I mean, they're more likely to go after that. Who's that idiot that was leaking all the games that won't even accept the summons now? I can't even.
Oh, really?
Oh my gosh. But that's like a bigger case for them. People that are really
totally
impacting their intellectual property. This was a nothing burger, I'd have to think.
I would think so too. Yeah.
Is it even a chain or just one store?
I think it's just the one store.
Yeah.
Mom and pop.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's good for them in a way. They've got all this publicity now, so maybe people will shop there. I saw these photos of people standing at the front, with the sign in the background. Supermarket.
I'm going to start doing my grocery shopping in Costa Rica.
Yeah, why not, right? It's good enough.
Does,
Good enough for Mario.
DoorDash deliver or
or Uber Eats or something? Yeah. I just thought that was an amusing piece of news. It's just very random, not something you hear about every day. But yeah. In a way, it's good that they won. I guess is this a David and Goliath thing? But like you said, it's not. I don't think it was a huge. I don't think Nintendo would have spent a lot of time or money on this. They would have just done the default thing, like submit this application kind of thing. Oh, we're gonna fight this. Okay, they've said they've got the rights. Well, sorry, Nintendo doesn't have the rights to Mario in grocery store land, whatever. So they have no claim on that one. Well,
not yet, anyway.
It's dismissed. Yeah, maybe they do now. So next time they go to reapply for their license, I don't know. I didn't even know you needed to do that with grocery stores, but maybe that's a different rule in Costa Rica. But I've never owned one, even in Australia, so I wouldn't know. Yeah.
See, I'm not shocked about the name, but I am surprised that if they're using the Mario character, then they're using someone else's copyrighted materials to promote themselves. And I thought you couldn't do that. Maybe in Costa Rica it's a different thing.
Oh no, they're not. It's just the name.
I don't think they are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I thought I looked at one of the things here, and there was a thumbnail where they had the character, but maybe that was superimposed.
Ooh.
Yeah, I see now. That's superimposed. Okay. That's nothing.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, let him have it. Let him have it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Let's go after the guy who superimposed that image. Sue him.
Yeah. Well, the last news item is that there's a new Switch online game that came out, or is it out? I think it's out. Ridge Racer 64, which is, I haven't had a chance to try this, sorry, but I just thought it was worth noting. It's a racing game. I don't think I even played the original of this. I know Trev does not have the Switch Online Plus, whatever it's called.
But I have played this game, though.
You
I
have
used to
played this
own it,
game?
actually.
Right. Okay. Recommend?
Yeah. I've got a lot of the, well, on PS1, I get the Ridge Racer games,
Mm-hmm.
and there's I think I have the first 5. Part 5's on PS2, but yeah, Ridge Racer 64 is kind of cool. I was looking at the trailer. It looks a little darker than I remember, but yeah, it was fun. And it's one of those games. I actually have it on 3DS too. It's been, the original's kind of been across a few. I think it was on the DS too. That version wasn't very good, but yeah, it's cool to see it kind of caught me out of the blue. I'm like, that's a random game to throw up there. But if you haven't played it, Ridge Racer's an arcade classic, and the 64 version is respectable from what I remember.
Well, we know how they choose their games. Remember, the capybaras go and choose random games from a pile and bring it across. This is this week's one. So yeah, it is random. Kirk, you have any history with Ridge Racer?
I don't have much of a history with any racing game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. I thought there was more to that story. Sorry.
That's all I can offer.
There was no Intellivision racing game that you played a ton of?
There was a game called Bump and Jump, which I think was an arcade game that was on the Intellivision, and I used to play that quite a bit. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, I remember
but
that
as
one.
far as actual real cars racing around real tracks, as much as we can put real in quotes, no. I got to be able to bump and jump if I'm going to race a car.
Yeah, fair enough. The only racing game I used to like, apart from Super Mario Kart, of course, is Top Gear from Super Nintendo era. Do you guys remember that one? I love that one. My sister and I played it a lot. Yeah. I've never really been super into racing games. I'm just not that great at them. But I've played them at the arcade, of course. What's that Sega one?
Daytona USA.
Daytona. Yeah, I played that one. There was that. What Nintendo had that other IP that they did at the arcade. Oh, what was that one? There was this really cool one they used to do.
Cruising USA?
Yeah. Cruising USA.
Yeah. It's funny. Ridge Racer, Daytona, and Cruising were kind of all in the arcades around the same time. They were kind of the big 3 racing games. So
I totally
Uh,
forgot about Cruising USA until
yeah,
just now.
because back in the day, Ridge Racer was a PS1 launch game, Daytona was a Saturn launch game, and Cruising USA was in that launch window for 64. So
Yeah,
it
that
was a
was
good
cool.
time
I
to be a
like that
racing
one.
fan.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually did like those. I do. I probably have played Ridge Racer at the arcade at some point, but I definitely remember Daytona and Cruising USA more so. And Top Gear from a Super Nintendo perspective was the only other racing one I delved into. Yeah, but that's
You
cool.
guys didn't play, what was Turbo gone by then? Pole Position weren't in the arcades? Am I dating myself too much? I'm the only person. What was that movie? The movie with where they kept talking about everyone going turbo. He went turbo. It was
Oh, that was Wreck-It
the
Ralph.
Disney movie. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I got the turbo joke. I knew the game they were talking about. I'm the only person in the theater.
Oh, I
I,
didn't know
I, I
that.
like
Yeah.
pole position. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got it, but yeah, probably not in the arcades at that time, unless it was like a retro corner,
Okay.
like with Centipede and
That was always the best corner.
Yeah,
I miss
yeah.
the retro corner so much.
Oh, it still is. That's why there's an arcade I think I've told you guys about that's near me, and it's all retro, so it's awesome.
Yeah.
They've got Daytona, they've got Donkey Kong, they've got the Simpsons arcade, the TMNT arcade. They've got all these classic '90s arcades. I just
it's
love it.
sick to think of that as like retro, but man,
Yeah, I know, I
they're so
know.
old now.
I know, I know. We're
Yeah.
watching just a smaller side. We watched Jaws the other night, and that's set in the '70s. It's made in the '70s, and there's this like shooting game. Like there is a small section of arcade at the beach at
Oh
that particular.
yeah,
Yeah, and there's this like shooting
Oh,
game, and I'm like, oh,
like computer
I know
space
that
or
game
whatever.
too.
yeah,
I played that game in the arcade.
right, yeah. There you go.
That was
Classic.
from the 70s. Yeah, that was,
Yeah,
boy, that game was long gone by the time arcades became a thing. But
yeah. So that's very retro, right
yeah,
there. Awesome. All right, thank you. Well, let's move on to the games that we're playing this week. And I will kick things off with a game that I'm playing and reviewing. It's called Raven's Watch, not Raven's Swatch, as it looks like when you read it, because it's not a capital W. It's one word, Raven's Watch, and it is a kind of top-down roguelite game. It's really fun. I'll start off by saying that I really enjoy this game. I am enjoying this game. Sorry, I was just playing it yesterday as well. It is it's got a really cool look to it. It's very dark and it has a really cool story. Well, I mean the story is a bit these stories aren't super detailed, but the Ravens Watch is a group of heroes who are trying to save the world from this kind of nightmare that's taking over the world, right? But the cool thing is, this group of people are based on characters from classic literature, like Little Red Riding Hood and Aladdin and Beowulf and all of these characters, but they're not called Aladdin's called Aladdin, but Little Red Riding Hood is called Scarlet, and she's like this hardcore, female warrior with a hood. And the twist is she is a werewolf. So the wolf is her. She has this there's this day night kind of scene when you're playing. It goes from day to night. And when it's nighttime, she transforms into a werewolf or to a wolf. She is a werewolf. So it's a really cool twist on these characters. Like they're a bit darker, which is probably maybe more not so much Red Riding Hood, but maybe more in line with some of those classic Grimm tales, the Grimm brothers, how they how Disney kind of made things a little bit nicer, like Aladdin. He's
Oh
like an
yeah,
assassin. He's like an assassin kind of thing with his blades, and he's not like Disney's Aladdin, right? So anyway, it's really really cool. Aesthetically, it looks great. You kind of the premise is you have 3 days to kind of battle as many enemies as you can and gather as much gold as you can and buy as many upgrades as you can. And then at the end of 3 days, the nightmare appears, and this is the boss. And so then you have to fight the boss. And I think there's 3 chapters. So once you beat the boss, you go into chapter 2 and do it again in a different environment with different enemies, different boss, etc. So each chapter is about 15 minutes, so it's not too long. It's really hard, as these games tend to be. So I've only beaten the boss twice in chapter 1 and moved on to chapter 2. But you level up your character each time. So you don't get to keep your abilities or the gold or whatever that you've earned during a run. You have to do it all again, of course, but you level up your character, so you do get stronger. So that helps. So each run is a little bit easier that way. But it's just really fun. It's just very satisfying combat. Each character has really different moves. Even Scarlet Little Red Riding Hood, because she has two characters essentially in one, and both of them act very differently. The wolf is a bit stronger, and there's a whole set of moves. You can press ZR, your special is X, you've got your attack, which is Y, you've got a defense, which is A. Some characters have an L button attack as well. So there's a whole range of moves, and they kind of have a cooldown. They all have a different cooldown period, except for the Y button. You can just attack as much as you want. The Pied Piper is another character, and he's really cool. He sends out musical notes, so he's a bit of a ranged attack kind of person. And he's got these group of rats that follow him around, and they grow over time and accumulate and follow him, and then you can send them out with the L button. That's his L attack, and the rats can go and attack the enemy that you point them to. It's really fun. I'm really digging it. It's not usually my genre of choice, but this is a really good take on it. And I'm writing up my review. Hopefully it'll be out. It won't be out before this podcast airs, but it'll be out during the week. So it just came out. I think it was out sometime late January 23rd or something like that. So it's a relatively new game. Definitely want to keep an eye out if you are into that kind of genre. So keep an eye out for my review. Any questions to me about Raven's Watch?
Just to clarify, it is not a watch. It's a game.
No, it's a game. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I have to say, it also has really good voice acting. So it's the characters are all voice acted. They talk as they're fighting. They say little quips here and there, like action heroes kind of thing. Not too corny, a little bit corny, but not too corny. It's a darker game. Like I said, it's not super. I think it's rated T for teens. A bit of fantasy violence happening, but it's just the aesthetics. They're really, really cool aesthetics. It's really well designed.
Were you able to play the co-op? I see it only has online co-op, not single system.
So that is one thing that disappointed me, because I thought it had co-op, local co-op, when I started reviewing it. And I had my son and my nephew ready to play with me. I'm like, hey guys, you got to play this game with me. It's really fun. It's got co-op. Let's do it. And I went to the screen and I'm like, okay, there's multiplayer. How do I add you guys in? And then I looked at the eShop listing. I'm like, wait a sec. It's only online. So yeah, you have to invite friends. I think you can do it cross-platform, but you'd have to have the game on Steam or the Switch as well. So I didn't have that. I haven't. No one else I know has this game. You can't just randomly find people to play with. I really wish it did have local co-op, because it would be super fun and a lot easier. Maybe not a lot easier, but easier, because it's pretty hard. Which, yeah, like I said, these games are meant to be hard, but it would be so fun to just have someone join you, and even if it was just 2-player co-op, local co-op, it doesn't have to be 4 necessarily, but yeah, that is one that probably will lose a bit of a point or two, because seems like an oversight to me. But maybe I don't know why they couldn't do that, but yeah, that would have been really cool. Yeah, good question, Kirk. Thank you for reminding me about that. Yes. That's it. Any other questions? Or should we move on to Trev?
Sure.
Okay.
So yeah, real quick, because I am watching the clock, but I am still playing Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. I mentioned last week how I had gotten to the 3DS, the ninth world.
Yeah.
But so I went up there, and the door's actually locked. You have to get an orb from each level. I'm like, oh. So the only way to do that is to get every Kong letter in every level, in every world.
Oh, that seems like a tough challenge.
So I got a few of them on my own, and thankfully you can buy some. They're not cheap. You can buy some, but the thing with the bonus worlds is they eliminate the checkpoint. So you got to do it in a single run. I have sort of outgrown that particular style of challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're into a lot of trial and error and learn from memorization and split-second reflexes, it'll have you on the edge of your seat. It is tough. It is
Right.
tough. So,
is this akin to the Star World in Mario platformers? Is it that kind of special world? Like it's not like it's different to the normal. You know how Mario has the unlockable Star World?
Yeah.
really challenging levels. Is that what this is? Is this Donkey Kong's version of that?
I think these are sort of in their own kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I get the series is known for difficulty, but like they're difficult enough to not have like a checkpoint is just gutting to get like to the end, and then a hitbox seems slightly off, or you're doing the barrel blaster and you tap half a second late, and to have to start over, it's just like demoralizing.
Yeah.
And I'm impressed that I beat a few, but
Nice.
yeah, I think I'm gonna have to just buy the other orbs from Cranky. But still a fun game. Don't get me wrong, but
yes.
the main game I'm playing this week is the Accolade Sports Collection, which
Cool.
is sort of this bizarre mix of old sport games that I played on the Sega Genesis. In fact, 3 of these games I have as carts. So it's a novelty to be able to play them on the Switch in handheld mode. The this collection delivers exactly what I expected, and I'm also realizing I play these games for like 5 minutes and I'm sort of had my fill because they are showing their age. Sport games in particular can really start to show their age, and these are no exception. Um, it delivers exactly what I expected, but I just don't know how I'm going to review this because I don't know who this would appeal to except for the individuals like me who happen to own these carts on the Genesis. And in fact, one of them, it took out Charles Barkley. It used to be Charles Barkley Shut Up and Jam, and now they don't have the license for Sir Charles anymore. So it's like Hoops Shut Up and Jam.
I remember that title.
And I get licensing is tricky and expensive, and but yeah, it's weird. I think you could still hear voice clips from him actually in the game, although the title screen sprite's different, and the main sprite's on 16-bit. It's not like they can really do justice to these characters, but yeah, it's just bizarre. I looked at it and I'm like, hey, I know this game. I know this game. I know this game. And then I booted it up and it's fun. And I'm like, wow, these controls are really, thankfully you can remap them, but they're just showing their age. So I don't know what type of broad appeal this is going to have. I do think it's overpriced at $19.99. That is only $4 a game, but yeah, I'd still wait for maybe like half off.
Yeah.
And some of the games, though, have multiple games, right? Like Winter Challenge and Sports Challenge have a series of games within themselves.
Yeah, they're like Olympic style mashups. They don't actually have like the Olympic license, but it's very much in that style of like the old track and field games or like decathlon type games. And they do have some
ones I remember too.
Yeah, they do have some unique events, and they actually, for the time, were pretty impressive. They have like some polygonal type effects that I didn't see a lot of on the Genesis. So yeah, there's definitely a lot I can appreciate just from a technical perspective and again from a nostalgic perspective, but I just don't know what sort of people this collection might lend itself to. I think it's probably going to get some curiosity for the launch window, and then it's just going to drop off and people will forget about it. But I do hope we can see more collections like this because I get a kick out of it, seeing these kind of seemingly random collections of games from my youth get bundled up and be available.
Yes, it is 10% off at the moment, but that's not a huge amount.
Yeah, it's probably still not enough, unless, like I said, unless you absolutely love these games. Like I own 3 of them, but they weren't games I loved. I mean, I liked them enough to pick them up, but the hardball games are interesting though. They're early baseball sims, and they are pretty interesting. So, yeah, it's a tricky one.
It is a tricky one. Yeah. Well, we look forward to seeing your final review and what you actually end up giving it out of 10. Because it's a tricky one to review. Yeah. I mean, there's only so much, like, nostalgia's a thing, of course, but
yeah. And this thing, I feel guilty because it's delivering 100% what I expected.
Yeah.
But I'm realizing they just don't hold up the way I would have hoped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. Thank you, Trev. Shall we see what Kirk is playing this week?
Yeah, well, two games mainly. The first is once again a game I'm not allowed to talk about yet, but I'd like to mention it because when I do talk about it, there will be an awful lot to say. So look forward to that, as they say.
Okay.
The second one is a game called Moons of Darsalon. This game, I got the review code for this over a month ago, and it's not out yet. It's actually coming out this coming week, February 6th. So my review will be ready to go then when the embargo lifts. This is a weird game, like a lot of fun. It's an indie developer. The company, the publisher and developer is Dr. Cucho Games. It's kind of like a lemmings kind of game where you're kind of like this space pilot and you're on these planets and you need to save people. So you're running around on the top of the planet, and these are very old style graphics. I should point out. It looks like an old arcade game, 8-bit, 16-bit, but with a lot of modern technology to kind of make it come together, with one caveat that I'll mention in a minute. But so you're running around a 2D area trying to find survivors on this planet to get them back to their ship. And the survivors are all total idiots. So you're basically giving them commands like if they follow you. Once you find them, they follow you. But if you go through a dark cave and it gets too dark, they just stop. And a little speech bubble will come up saying it's too dark, and you got to turn around and shine a flashlight on them. And then they'll start coming again. You can issue commands with the D-pad, like wait here or let's go kind of thing. So it's supposed to be a very quickly paced game. In fact, one of the challenges, like as you go through, there'll be challenges like you take no damage. None of the people that you're trying to save, none of them die. But one of them is getting it done in a time limit. I have come nowhere close to these time limit challenges. I imagine if you play the game a lot and you get used to the level, you might be able to do it. I'm just plowing through as far as I can go. So it's really hard to get them in control. And, you're making some complex jumps. The enemies start showing up after a while. So you have to take out the enemies to clear the way to get the people to come along. It's very fun. And the music is, it's chiptune kind of music, but they are taking like a lot of classical music. Like one of them, it was really funny. They started playing Bolero. I don't know if you know that piece of music. But
the Italian song?
Yeah. And it was like so weird on this level that was so action paced. And, that song is very much a slow build. And it didn't fit at all, but it fit perfectly at the same time. That's the kind of sense of humor the game has. And it's very meta. Like they'll be telling you what to do, and they'll even say, like one of the controls is weirdly mapped, and it'll say, but I'm sure the developers had a reason for that. So it's got that kind of humor throughout the whole thing. Just a lot of fun, difficult, but in a very friendly way. So as you're pushing through it, I never really felt compelled to go back to try to like save more people. But even though if a level was challenging, I'd get done and I'd want to keep going. So I was never frustrated with the challenge. I was more amused by it than anything else. So really weird, really fun. I will try to explain it better in my actual review. But it comes out this week. It's only $18, and I think especially if you watch the video that's on the eShop, you'll get a feel for it. It does the video uses some fan service for comedic purposes and the outfits that the ladies are wearing in the stills are not outfits that make a whole lot of sense in outer space.
Yeah,
I guess what I'm trying to say. If you've got a space helmet on, you can't have the outfit on that's underneath the space helmet. That is my kind of point. But again, just funny. and the action's pretty good. Now, the one caveat that I almost forgot to mention, I want to get to, is the thing that bugs me about it is the terrain. There's a lot of jumping, and you can like destroy the terrain in certain areas. You could kind of figure out what you have to blast through to get to certain people. The jumps are weird. Like, I don't know if it's the graphics or what, but some of the jumps to get someplace to me were a little more difficult than they needed to be. Like, I couldn't clearly see where I had to land or that I was able to grab something. And that kind of slowed me down a little bit. It's the only thing that I really didn't get into with the game.
Yeah, well, it says something like full interactive and realistic liquid physics. That sounds like you're jumping, right? What's liquid physics?
See, that's like, if you, and I do like, what was the other thing? Advanced platformer AI, including dynamic terrain detection, jump force calculation, light sensitivity, and inner NPC communication. Like, what? I don't know what any of that means. And I don't think we're supposed to. I think that is the same sense of humor the game has went into the way they wrote about it.
Yeah.
To just like, what is this? What are you even talking about?
Yeah.
So again, that carries throughout the whole thing. So it's actually really tightly done in the way the game is presented and the way it's played.
Okay, that's cool. So in that list of features, this might not mean anything then, but it says voice commands to control companion NPCs. I'm assuming you don't use your own voice to control them, right? You use a button or something, right?
I certainly didn't. If that ability is in it, I missed it. I think that's mapping the D-pad to tell people what to do. So, and again, they have to be in earshot. So you may say, okay, everybody waits here, but if someone's out of earshot, that person's going to follow you and get killed. So an awful lot to look at as you race through these environments. Oh, and the environments, one last thing. I know we got to go, but there are an awful lot of nods to science fiction past and present. So if you're all a sci-fi fan, you're going to get a kick out of a lot of the references that they make throughout this game.
Cool.
Any Flash Gordon nuds?
Not that I've seen, and believe me, I was looking.
You'd think that would be one, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping we get there eventually.
Might have to dock half a point.
Yeah. Even his outfit, the main dude, speaking of the outfits, it's like his helmet is not connected to his suit.
Yeah.
Like you can see his neck. So it's like those old movies where they don't have proper astronaut outfits, like they're just wearing goggles or something.
Yeah, exactly. Flying in a spaceship in outer space with like no canopy above their head.
Yeah. Love it. Anything else to add to that?
No, except check it out. Comes out this week, and I'm going to recommend it in the review. So if you don't want to wait for the review, then go buy it now. You'll be good. Yeah,
awesome. Thank you, Kirk. It does sound very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. I love that it's different and unique in that way. Sounds like it stands out at least. Which it's really hard to not have fun with this from the moment you pick it up until it becomes too much of a challenge, I suppose. Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you both very much. Do we have anything we'd like to add before we close things off for the week?
No, it was fun. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We definitely love putting these shows together. We'd love to know your thoughts, what you're playing, what you're hoping for Switch 2. If you're a subscriber, we've gone to print this week, so you should be getting your Pure Nintendo magazine any moment in the next week or two. If you aren't a subscriber but you would like to support us, please head on over to patreon.com/Pure Nintendo, and you can be on our mailing list for our Pure Nintendo magazine. We are also on Blue Sky. If you'd like to follow us over there, that's where you can catch all the action. And of course, purenintendo.com is our website with all our reviews and news. Thank you again, everyone. Until next week, game on, everybody. Bye.
See ya.